What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream. Happy Friday, people. The international break is finally over. Yes, Premier League football is back. No more of that Gareth Southgate toxic football. And we can finally watch some proper football this weekend. Although if Arsenal get beat by Brentford, I might be saying something different. But big up to everyone. Hope you're well on this Friday. Hope you've had a good week. Exciting weekend of football to come, man. Looking forward to the Man City against Liverpool game tomorrow, 12:30. Obviously, we'll be doing the Arsenal game, 5:30 kickoff. I'll be live from 4:30, so make sure you tune in for that. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already as well, people, because we are approaching 70,000 subscribers. If we could hit it this weekend, that would be great. But if not, we'll hit it next week. I'm pretty sure of that. Big up to everyone in the comments. Hope you're well. Let's see, we got Gunnar CK, big up M5, hope you're all well in there. Big up Latif for the super chat. I have a bad feeling we're going to get G-checked at the G-Tech Forts. I think we'll win. I think we'll win, Latif, but I hear you. One thing I'll say about Brentford, they're very streetwise. They're very physically strong. They'll put crosses in. We know that, Wissart and Mbuemo and these guys, they're dangerous, and as I said, Brentford have only lost once this season in the Premier League at home, which was to Everton, which was a bit of a freak result. But it won't be easy. It will not be easy. We're going to have to start the game quickly and be up for it. But if we've got any real hopes of winning the Premier League, you've got to be beating Brentford away from home. No Ivan Toney. No David Raya. We're going to talk about David Raya. Big up Dr. Byron. Big up Big C in the C Unit community. And Fitz, I salute you. Great member stream yesterday. Big up to everyone who tuned in for the member stream. Some of you weren't in there, unfortunately, but we did one at 2 p.m. It was really good. Fitz went out in a blaze of glory at the end. And big up everyone who came on and spoke and whoever was in the comments. I will do another one in the next couple of weeks as well. So make sure you like the video and subscribe today, people. Let's get into it. Lots to talk about today. Transfer news, some good, some bad. And obviously we're going to look ahead to the game as well. And it's press conference reaction. Get ready for waffle settings with the manager, Mikel Arteta, people. Big up Cameron Coles, who is a new member. Really appreciate it. And I will be live on Bleacher Report today at 4 p.m. I will put the link in the description at the end of the show, so you guys can come over if you want to join. It's a half an hour preview at 4 o'clock, so we'll just be looking ahead, a few stats, potential team news, but I will do a preview of that game at the end of this show. Right, let's get into it, people. Let's get into it. Lots to talk about today, and we'll start off by talking about Gabriel Jesus. Strikers Union. Big up my brother Deluded in the chat. Make sure you go and subscribe to him. DG, I will get back to you, bro. And we are going to do some content. Big up DG. Make sure you go and follow him. I'm sure most of you do anyway. Big up my brother. Let's talk about Gabriel Jesus. I mean, Strikers Union, man. Strikers Union. Which means I'm a defend a striker as much as I possibly can. But there's certain times where you're out on your own. Now, I'm going to say, let me just balance this whole debate. Now, Gabriel Jesus said in an interview in Brazil, goals are not my strong point. Goals are not my strong point. It's funny because on one hand, I want footballers, I want managers, I want sporting directors to be open and honest, right? Because I'm a content creator, and listen, international break's quiet, so these kind of comments, you're going to give me 10, 15 minutes of content to talk about there. And I understand what he's saying. Gabriel Jesus is not an out-and-out striker. He's not a Aubameyang. He's not a, Thierry Henry. He's not an Anelka. Whatever. We know Gabriel Jesus is not a gunman striker. Cool. I just think if I'm in his position, I'm not making that comment. And some people might say, out of context, no big deal, goals are not my strong point. I want the guy to be saying, this is just my opinion, not everyone's going to agree with it. I would like to hear Gabriel Jesus say, I believe I can score more goals. I'm not saying I want you to come out and say, yo, brother, I'm coming for Haaland's golden boot next season. That's not realistic. I don't expect delusion from Gabriel Jesus. I expect reality. But I just think that comment to me is a glass half empty, not a glass half full comment. I would like to hear him say, listen, I know I only scored 11 goals last year, but I was injured for 3 months, and I believe I can score more goals than what I did last year. Not 20, not 30, but I think I can score more. Saying goals are not your strong point is like, I mean, it's like a goalkeeper saying I'm not good at saving shots, or a centre back saying I'm not good at heading the ball. Like, it's like going to a restaurant and the chef says, you know, cooking food isn't my strong point. You're gonna walk out and go somewhere else. So listen, man, I get it. I appreciate the honesty, but for me, brethren, I would not be saying that. I would not be saying that. I don't even think Eddie would say that. And I don't rate Eddie. I think Eddie would be out here saying, yo, brother, I believe I can score more goals, you know. I want to see that determination and that arrogance. I can get better. I can do more. I want to lift this place. Goals are not my strong point. So if Jesus goes and misses 3 sitters tomorrow, what are we going to say? Well, goals aren't his strong point anyway. Like, nah, come on, for me. And I know some people will say, don't take it out of context. Like I say, if I go to the restaurant, if I'm in Salt Bay's restaurant and I'm paying £500 for the gold steak, and the chef comes out and says, brother, nice vibes in here still, you know, but cooking ain't my strong point. I'm going to have to leave and go somewhere else, because I know there's a nice little Jamaican spot down the road where, you know, she can cook some nice oxtail. And come on, man, like, yo, Gabby, my brother, you know, I was happy when you signed for Arsenal. I'm not expecting 30, 40 goals a season, but I want you to tell me I believe I can score more. I believe I can do better. He is a natural goal scorer. He was a striker when he was in Brazil. So listen, I don't want people to think it's an overreaction. I don't want people to say, listen, you're taking it out of context. But I think, you know, some of the stuff that's being said in this international break from some of the players at Arsenal. I mean, first, Aaron Ramsdale does an interview with Ian Wright, and he comes out and says, I find it difficult to concentrate for 90 minutes. And you're like, bro, don't you realise right now David Raya's got your shirt and you're making that statement? And then Gabriel Jesus comes out with this. I mean, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? If the roof's leaking and you call the plumber and he says plumbing ain't my strong point, again, you ain't going to let him start fixing the roof. I mean, it's mad. But listen, Gabby, prove us all wrong, go and bag a hat-trick tomorrow. I mean, he said he's working on it. Cool. I get it. I like the honesty. It gives me content. But sometimes not everything that you think has to be said. Do you know what I'm saying, people? Not everything you think has to be said out loud in public. Sometimes you're with your missus and she might be having a rougher day than normal. She says, how do I look? You say, you know what? You look great. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your effort. In your mind, you're thinking, damn, what the hell happened this morning? But you don't say that to her. You got to learn the game. You know how it goes, people. I don't know. Apparently, plumbers don't fix roofs. There you go, Dre. You know what I mean? I meant if it's leaking. I don't know. Maybe you call someone else. But you know what I'm saying? Play the game, man. A goalkeeper's saying, I can't concentrate. And a striker's saying, I can't score goals. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. But anyway, go and score some goals tomorrow and we'll forgive you anyway. Maybe we'll score a hat-trick tomorrow and we'll say all is forgiven. But it's just funny. It always seems to be Arsenal. Don't it always seem to be Arsenal? Like, I've never heard... You know, I've never heard a Man City player come out and go, yeah, mate, you know, I struggle to concentrate. Like, come on, man. Mickey, don't get caught at work. He said, bro, I'm at work trying not to get caught listening. John said, relationship, dark arts. You know how the dark arts goes, people? Yeah, you look great today, man. Yeah, you know, the dark arts. We got to play the game. Dino said, my missus listening to this as well, giving man the side eye. We play the game, bro. How does this outfit look? Yeah, you look great. It fits you nice. Beautiful. You know what listen, let me move on anyway. I don't want to get myself in trouble. I don't want to get anyone else in trouble. But listen, think about what you're saying before you say it. I hope he does score some goals tomorrow, though, people. I really do. But anyway, let's move on. You get on the plane, the pilot says, you know what, flying ain't really my strong point. Do you know what I mean? Are you going to sit down on that plane and see what happens? Just let's leave it. Maybe it was just taken out of context. People will be in the comments, you've got an agenda. He's a false nine. He's the new Bobby Firmino. You don't score goals. Yeah, it's all right not scoring goals when you got Salah and Mane scoring 20 apiece next to you. But anyway, let's move on. It's an interesting start to the show, as always. Let's see what you're saying. Big up, Big City. Yeah, George, you've got an agenda. United goes, them Liat flights, man, I told you. I was in the airport. You know what I mean? Antigua. I see the brother running through the Liat thing on him. He had duct tape in his hand. I said, where's this guy going? The guy lifted up something under the wing and the guy was duct taping it. Honestly, this guy had duct tape on the side of the plane like it was a BMX bike in the ends, like the chains falling off. And I said, brother, that better not be my plane. Luckily for me, it was going to Montserrat, so I didn't have to get on it. But man, start pulling out duct tape on the plane. It ain't happening for me. But anyway, if you've been on them Liat flights, Jesus, they're an experience like no other, you know. But anyway, let me not get caught up. I'm already 11 minutes in. Let's move on. Let's talk about David Raya. Any fans of Aaron Ramsdale, look away now. Switch off. David Raya is signing for Arsenal on a permanent basis. It looks like this deal was tied up. Fabrizio Romano tweeted last night, Arsenal have decided to keep David Raya permanently. The £27 million option to buy will be triggered in 2024. And Raya has already signed a potential long-term deal. Rumours that it will be a 5-year contract for David Raya. I always said, when this guy signed, and I know sometimes you read too much into things, but I always said that announcement video was just, it was way too comfortable, man. It wasn't a normal announcement video. It was a family reunion. Like, they looked like, I finally got you here, my friend. Like, the way he gave Raya's granddad the shirt. I mean, you're not going to give the guy's granddad the shirt and then put him on the bench for the next 6 months, are you? You know, listen, for me, I've always said this. I have no horse in this race. I don't care if Raya or Ramsdale's in goal. I want whoever's better to be in goal. My question is, at this moment in time, I don't think it's evident particularly who the better goalkeeper is. I think they're of a very similar level with maybe slightly different qualities. I think David Raya is clearly better on the ball. Aaron Ramsdale maybe is a little bit bigger and more imposing. But there was times last season where, you know, Ramsdale was making mistakes and getting beaten at his near post. So, listen, Raya's the number one. I don't think it's a debate anymore. What's very interesting is that Aaron Ramsdale is going to play tomorrow against Brentford because Raya's ineligible to play against his parent club in the Premier League. So, what is Aaron Ramsdale's mindset at the moment? You know, that I'm going to be playing tomorrow, but in reality, listen, I think Ramsdale's agent will be looking what's out there for him right now, to be honest. Let's look at it from this point of view. To get David Raya for £27 million in this day and age is a good deal. It's a good deal. He's in the Spanish squad. He clearly plays the way the manager wants him to play. And let's face it, people, sometimes you buy something for a certain situation. You might go out on Friday, buy a new shirt. You wear it on Saturday night. You might not wear it for the next 6 months because there ain't an occasion that fits it. I look at it like this. Aaron Ramsdale was signed to get us back into the Champions League. The manager now is thinking, can I win the Premier League? Can I try and win the Champions League? He obviously feels Aaron Ramsdale isn't quite at that level. Maybe not quite good enough on the ball. So I always say I have no problem with any player being sold. Just make sure the replacement is an improvement. So I don't know. Be interesting. Scenes if Hines starts. Can you imagine that one? Monty said, is he better than David De Gea? I think it's too early to say that, if I'm being honest. I couldn't say right now that De Gea is better, that Raya is better, because Raya hasn't proved it at the top level. You know, so I think it's too early to say. Aaron Ramsdale was the Burberry shirt. You know, yeah, the Burberry from back in the day, man. The Ed Hardy, you know, that we used to rock back in the day. The Avisu jeans. But, you know, fashion changes, man. We ain't wearing boot cuts no more. Maybe, you know, it's Aaron boot cut Ramsdale. Now we're wearing the slim fit jeans. David slim fit Raya, you know. Maybe the fitting's different, you know. Yeah, David De Gea is a free at the moment. I think he's being linked with a move to the MLS. Fizzy says, why come up with the news of Raya? Permanent signing during this period. It's really a low on Ramsdale. As I always say, it's very difficult. A lot of people feel that Aaron Ramsdale is being done dirty. But people, as I always say, maybe he hasn't been explained the situation well enough, which is what his dad was saying. There's been no explanation, which is where you do feel for him a little bit, because if he's not aware and he hasn't been explained, he's going to feel hard done by. But the same way he is being let go is the same way he came in through the door. Bernd Leno was part of an FA Cup winning squad, was a decent goalkeeper, and we knew the second Aaron Ramsdale joined the club that Leno's days were numbered. So, you know, you can't complain about, you know, something if you're doing it yourself. It's the art of football. Listen, Ramsdale will have a better contract, more money. He'll go to another big club. He's an England international. His career's in a much better spot than when he'd just been relegated with Sheffield United. So I do have a little bit of sympathy for him, but it's football. And I always say, people, if you want to win titles, you want to win Champions Leagues, in football, you have to take emotion out of it at times when it comes to individual players. Raheem Sterling was a beast at City. Pep binned him quick and brought Grealish in. Aguero, he was crying, we cannot replace him, we cannot. Next minute, he replaced him with Haaland, who's Aguero, not interested. Football is ruthless. You move on, people. So we move on, and I'm going to back David Raya. If he's the number one, just prove you're better than him. That's all I'm interested in. I felt done dirty when Kevin De Bruyne scored last season with a 30-yard curler near post. I'm not having it. Listen, we spoke about this yesterday on the member stream. Big up, Salman. There was goals last season where I was thinking a better keeper saves that. You know, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that because Ramsdale's not in the team. I always believed that we could have upgraded on Ramsdale. I always had this feeling that sometimes gets beat at his near post too easily. Sometimes a bit too hype. He is a good goalkeeper. He definitely improved us. But then the question mark is David Raya better than him? And I think time will tell. So let's stick. 5-year deal. 27 million, let's keep it moving. But he will not be in goal tomorrow. It will be Aaron Ramsdale tomorrow. And you're right, James, we must recoup our money. If Aaron Ramsdale is to go, I want to see cash money on the table, people. Good money as well. We paid 35 million. We should be making profit on Aaron Ramsdale. He's better now than he was then. He's now an England international. I'm expecting 50 million. Will we get it? Probably not, because we're just not good at selling usually. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone who was celebrating. Brian said, does the UK have a Thanksgiving? Not really. Not really. I suppose what do they have over here? Christmas. That's about it, really. Easter. So happy Thanksgiving to anyone who was celebrating. Big up Brian Holiday. Jamal said, big up the C Unit community, Curtis. What are your thoughts on us not ready to spend in January on Toney? Personally, I feel we're going to fall short of silverware without a proper striker. Love from Dubai. Do you know what, Jamal? And again, something we were speaking about yesterday on the member stream. I can't remember a time, probably since we won the Invincibles title, I can't remember a time where I've sat here as an Arsenal fan and gone, do you know what? We don't really need nothing. Or we don't need much. I know every club in the world thinks, I could do with tweaking that or upgrading that. When's the last time as an Arsenal fan you didn't see noticeable gaps in the Arsenal team and squad? Right now, we need a centre midfielder. because Partey's injured. Declan Rice is carrying the midfield. We need a right winger because Saka has no competition. The club doesn't trust Nelson, despite giving him 100 grand a week, 5-year deal. We need a striker because we do need a goal scorer. Our striker at the moment saying goals aren't his strong point, which you don't want to be reading that. I do like Gabriel Jesus, don't get me wrong, but we 100% need a striker. I think we could do with another centre-back as cover. And if Ramsdale leaves, you're going to need a keeper. I mean, the keeper's not a desperation. I think in terms of desperate need, we need a centre midfielder and a striker. Right here, right now. When's the last time you was able to sit there and go, do you know what? We don't really need much in this January window. And until we figure that out is why I think we fall short. I think if we'd had a proper January last year, I think we'd have won the title, if I'm being totally honest. Because when Saliba got injured, we went and signed Kivior for 25 million and Kivior wasn't ready to replace him. If you'd have bought a centre-back for 30, 40 million that was ready to go straight away, we might not have felt Saliba's loss as bad. Do you know what I mean? When Gabriel Jesus got injured, if you'd have signed a striker, we wouldn't have felt it, and just so on and so forth. You know, when Partey's form dipped, you had Jorginho who wasn't going to elevate us. If you'd have signed Caicedo, if you'd have signed somebody of a higher quality, we could be Premier League champions right now. And that's the issue with Arsenal. We're always nearly there. We're nearly good enough. We nearly win the title. We nearly won the Champions League. I'm sick of nearlies. And people will go, well, it's Arteta 4 years. But we've been living this as Arsenal fans for 2 decades. With a nearly men. We nearly win. And that needs to change. And that comes from the ownership. You know, until they say, listen, I don't care how much Douglas Luiz is going to cost. If that's the player you want, we're buying him in January. That's how you've got to act. But, you know, if not, we'll be the nearly merchants, as you're saying, Amma. But big up Jamal. Big up AO, who's become a new member on the channel. Big up yourself. Wama said, any ideas for left field signings in January? Kivior was a surprise. All the chat is about a CDM or Toney, Daily Dusan. Knowing Arsenal will be none of them. Listen, Arsenal are a club. You look at the last few years, we keep signing crazy players who we don't really know about. I'd never even hardly heard of Fabio Vieira when we got him. Kivior, I'd seen him in the World Cup once or twice. Didn't know much about him. So it wouldn't surprise me. We get linked with Douglas Luiz. We get linked with Ivan Toney. And we sign some unknown guy from Brazil that Edu likes, you know. So I think this will be a very restricted market in January. I don't see a lot of quality available. Big up Fitz, hope you're well, bro. Thank you for coming on the member stream yesterday. He said, What's Raya done to deserve to be number one? Arteta has messed up the goalkeeper situation ever since letting Martinez go. Talent ID on the floor. I mean, again, uncomfortable conversations. You could argue the best goalkeeper that's been at Arsenal since Arteta has been here is the one that he sold after 6 months of being at the club, Emi Martinez. Now, people will say he didn't want to stay and fight to be number one. I get that. But so I always say goalkeepers are not the same as outfield players. If I'm a striker and you're a striker and you're starting and I'm on the bench, I know I'm going to get an opportunity to get you out of that team because you always substitute strikers. As a goalkeeper, if you're number 2, you are sitting down for 90 minutes. So David Raya probably hasn't done much to justify being number 1, but clearly the manager is seeing weaknesses in Ramsdale's game from last season. What I would say to Arteta, if I, had an opportunity to speak to him, I would say, you've been at the club 4 years and you've had 4 different number 1 goalkeepers in 4 years. Emi Martinez, then Leno, then Ramsdale, now Raya. And I think successful teams, if you look at the best teams in world football, they have a long-term goalkeeper, an elite long-term goalkeeper. Ederson at Manchester City, Alisson at Liverpool, Courtois at Real Madrid. Neuer's been the keeper for a long time as well. So I think you have to get a top quality keeper and stick with them. You can't keep changing goalkeeper because they build a relationship with the defence. And then after a year, you go, right, who's the next one in, Again, you buy cheap, you buy twice. You keep buying these 30 million goalkeepers. Why not buy a world-class one for 70 million and have him for the next 7 years, But big up Fitz. Young Gunner said, how does a member stream work? I didn't see it. So what I do, I put the link up on the community page and the members come in and you come on and we chat and, you know, you're in the live video. So I'll let you all know. I always tell people, you know, the times and that, but I'll explain it a bit more the day before next time. Headaches is part of supporting Arsenal. Listen, I say, put it on your job CV. Say I'm an Arsenal fan. They go, what's that got to do with this job? They say, listen, mate, I watched Nicholas Bentner up front for 5 years with Shamak, with Andre Santos at left back and Denilson in midfield, with a double centre-back pairing of Mustafi and Socrates, Kolasinac at left back. If you can put up with that, you can put up with anything. Trust me. Southern Gooner, big up yourself, bro. He said, morning, C. We have to take advantage of where we are. At some point, this window will start to close. We need to seal this opportunity and bring in quality. Life, sport, football, it's about taking opportunities. And I believe that there is last season there was an opportunity and we didn't take it. This season, I think there's an opportunity. Kevin De Bruyne was out till January. I still think Kevin De Bruyne in form is Manchester City's best player. He makes everything happen in that team. They've missed him for half a season. You've got to take advantage of that. Now, big up Kev. When Kev was saying the other day we're still second or third with Havertz in the team, second or third ain't good enough. You're up against a monster in Manchester City. While De Bruyne's out, you've got to try and take advantage of it. Maybe get ahead of them. Maybe get a little points gap. Because if he comes back and kicks into gear and Man City buy someone, you know, and not many Manchester City signings fail. You look at Doku, baller straight away. You know, how many Man City signings don't work? And this is why I said we can't afford for Havertz to be a failure. We can't afford for Fabio Vieira to be a flop. We can't spend 100 million on two players and they don't work. You know, we don't have the cash to keep doing that. Kartik said, we more than ever need to spend properly and win something big. We've become the whipping boys of the media. Respect has to be earned fast, 100%. Listen, for me now, all the phasers, all the processors, all the trust the process and all that, that to me now has to start fizzling out. Arteta deserves some credit. You've took us to a point to challenge again. We're in the race. My question mark now is, how do we win the race? How do we win the title? How do we win the Champions League? What needs to happen? Is it an ownership problem? Are they not investing or looking after? Is it Edu? Is he not capable of agreeing the right deals? Is it the manager? Is he not able to sort the club out? We need those answers. We need clarity now. We can't say we're the Arsenal, the mighty, mighty Arsenal, but keep accepting no success. We need to win trophies. I think the fan base needs silverware this season. Anyway, let's move on from that. We're 30 minutes in. Big up to everyone. 1,500 of you tuned in. Make sure you hit the like button. And I will be on Bleacher Report at 4 o'clock as well, people. E. Ross said it's all of the above. I agree. You have an ownership that understands the game and invests properly. You have a technical director that can negotiate the big deals in Edu if that's what you need. And then you have a manager that can work with those players properly. And the thing is, what's so frustrating for Arsenal, we're not far away from Manchester City. I was looking at it going, probably two more players last season, we'd have won the title. I'm talking two high-quality players, not little £10 million Jorginhos. Two top-quality players last January, we'd have probably won the title. This season, if you imagine if Havertz and Fabio, that 100 million was Maddison and Ivan Toney, I'd be sitting here right now going, I think we can win the league. I think we can win it. And I agree with this. This could be the thing. Maybe mentally we're not close to them. Because I see a ruthlessness about Manchester City. They're like machines. They turn up, they play, they win, they go home. They don't get too carried away. They're very balanced. They don't say a lot in the media. And again, I'm a content creator, so I want Arsenal players and that to be doing it because it gives me content. But I think there's a ruthless edge about Manchester City. They've become used to winning. Maybe we don't quite have that because we've got a lot of young players. We've got an inexperienced manager. They're trying to figure out how to become winners. But I don't think we're a million miles away in terms of the playing in terms of the players, but we need a couple. I always say when Manchester City are in a big game, big pressure situation, those biggest games, if Kevin De Bruyne hits top form in a game, I don't think anybody is going to stop him because he's that good. He is like one of the best midfielders in the world. I look at Haaland. When Haaland's at it, he will score a hat-trick and take the game away from you. I still don't know with Arsenal, have we got a player where you think if he's having a good game, he's unstoppable in the attack? I think Saka and Martinelli and Odegaard have got the potential to get there, but are they quite at that level yet? I think we need another game changer in the attack. Somebody that, when we used to turn up, teams were scared of Alexis Sanchez. They knew you've got to put two on him, you've got to keep him off the ball. You knew that Ozil could split you apart with a pass. I think we need an Alexis Sanchez type of player that scares any team in the world that you're playing against. That's what I think we need to go to that next level. But they're expensive and there aren't many of them. Big up Young Gunner, who's a new member. Big up yourself, bro. I'm sure you've been a member already, right? And Whammer said, can we avoid FFP if the Kroenkes fund player purchases out their own pocket? Yes, they can. If yes, why are the Kroenkes not spending like they are in the US? Listen, they've told us out their own mouth. Arsenal are self-sustained. What you earn, you can spend. If you ain't earned it, we're not paying it. And that's what we're getting from them, which is why I always say, as a fan base, don't get caught up in a content creator having an opinion that you don't agree with on social media. Look at the bigger picture. If I love Arteta or I'm not the biggest fan of Arteta, that's not going to change much. The pressure that you're applying on the ownership as a fan base collectively is what can influence the future of the football club. Don't allow Arsenal to tell you that Eddie's good enough or tell you that El Nenny's getting a new contract or give Jorginho another year or sign Havertz for 65 million and tell us that he's playing well when we can all see with our eyes he's not. We've got to apply that pressure to the football club that, we need more than that. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk. And again, this is going to involve Brentford and Arsenal and FFP. Story coming out today about Ivan Toney, and it comes in two parts. Anybody that really wants Ivan Toney at Arsenal, as I do, this story is going to put a dampener on that process real quick. Two stories coming out today. The first one, Chelsea apparently are backing out of any potential move for Ivan Toney in January as the striker prefers a move to Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. Toney's age is also one that Chelsea have considered, given he will be 28 next March, with Brentford not willing to lower their price tag. So this story comes in two parts. First of all, this first bit. Ivan Toney apparently wants to go to Arsenal ahead of Chelsea. He said publicly he likes Arsenal, he likes the style of football. He's going to want to go to Arsenal over Chelsea. We're in the Champions League, they're not. We have a lot more stability. Todd Bowley wants to sign players 25 and younger, players that can become major financial assets in the future. Ivan Toney's 28 in March. So this is the first part. That's good news. Chelsea are out the way and he wants to come. But we've seen this before, and like Josh says, Mudryk was twerking for us. We still never got him. Caicedo was having a breakdown, and we still never got him. So that's the first part of the story. But then the second part of the story, and where it tends to go downhill, and we should be used to this as Arsenal fans, John Cross saying Douglas Luiz is more of a priority for Arsenal than Ivan Toney. And they're also now saying it looks as if Ivan Toney will stay at Brentford until the summer for a couple of reasons. Number one, Arsenal, according to this John Cross report, are only going to have money for one significant signing in January. And they believe midfield is a bigger priority than a striker. We simply cannot afford to buy a quality midfielder and a striker. Now, it's deja vu. We're in the same situation as last year, unfortunately. It's frustrating. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We make crazy amounts of money. Our owner's worth 15 billion. Would it actually break him to buy both of them? If you can get Toney for 70, 80 million, you can get Louise for what? For 50, 120 gets you two things that we need. We don't want these two players. We need two players. I'm not saying these two, but we need a central midfielder and we need a striker. And we're not going to address that. We're going to get one. I don't think we actually even get Douglas Luiz, to be honest. I said this before. Guy signed a 4-year deal last summer. Villa are 2 points behind Arsenal. Emery ain't going to want to do Arsenal any favours. And Villa have got good financial backing. They are not desperate for cash. We need... If we sign these two players, you could sit here in the middle of January and say, do you know what? We've got a chance. Look what we just did in January. We signed Douglas Luiz. We signed Ivan Toney. We're cooking. But instead, we're going to cut corners. We're going to look for the cheaper options. We're going to end up with someone we've probably never heard of. And it's the same thing that happened last January and the January before. In fact, when's the last January you came out of it satisfied? The last decent January we had was when we signed Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And guess what? We only signed him because we'd just given Alexis Sanchez to Manchester United. They give with one hand, they take with the other. Why is it always Arsenal, FFP? We can't sign both the players. Oh, we got to sell to buy. Oh, we'll wait till the summer. We've got an opportunity to win the league. We need a striker. Gabriel Jesus is injury prone. He's not prolific. Trossard, although very good, is not an out-and-out number 9. Eddie Nketiah is not good enough. You got one of the best strikers in the Premier League here in Toney saying, I want to join you. 20 plus goals last season, available at the right price. And we're still not going to make it happen. We're still not. And even though Chelsea are saying, we're not going to go for him, it only takes them to go, actually, we will go for him. There's 80 million Brentford. Brentford will accept it. Ivan Toney will go, well, I did want to go to Arsenal, but Chelsea will go, you know, you're 90 grand a week, there's 200. What do you think? Oh, yeah, I'll go Chelsea. I don't get caught up in any of these stories, right? I don't get caught up. Mudryk was putting up Instagram posts with 21 Savage talking about Arsenal. He was putting up pictures of him watching the Arsenal game on his iPad and still never became an Arsenal player. I mean, he hasn't done particularly well, but what I'm just saying is a player saying, I want to join Arsenal does not necessarily mean the player is coming to Arsenal. And for me, and listen, people can come at me and people can moan about... oh, blah, 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 your tweets winding me up and blah, blah, blah. How, as an Arsenal fan, can you not feel frustration when you read stories like this? Do you think if Manchester City needed a striker and a centre mid, they'd be putting out stories saying, oh, we can only buy one or the other? We need both of them. Buy them both. Take some of the money out of the summer budget and give it to him early. And this is where I will defend the manager a little bit. He needs two players. You're going to give him one. And guess what? If Jesus gets injured again, we're playing Trossard false 9 or we're playing Eddie Nketiah. You don't seem to want to play Havertz there, which most of us wouldn't. A striker's telling you goals aren't my strong point. So go and buy a goal scorer who loves scoring goals. It's crazy. But guess what? They know they can get away with it. They know they can give us the crumbs off the plate. And they know the fan base will lap it up. Now, I know people go, oh, Man City have got disposable income. They can buy whoever they want. They can spend whatever they want. Listen, look at the money Chelsea have just spent, right? Look at the money that they're investing in their team. Our owner is 3 times richer than than Todd Boehly. I know Boehly's got additional, investment from elsewhere. But what I'm saying is, people putting in the comments, yeah, but financial fair play. As I've said, if the owner takes the money out of his own pocket, we can get around FFP. When have Arsenal blown up the transfer market? We're not Chelsea. You've never seen a £400 million window. We can buy these two players if the manager brings the money out of his own pocket. If the owner, brings the money out of his own pocket. But he's not willing to. Because again, as I always say, we're the side dish people. And until people understand that, it's going to be very difficult to overcome this Manchester City. Last January, top of the league, needed players. We took the cheap options. We signed an unknown centre-back who's not ready to play for the first team. We signed a centre midfielder that's past his best from Chelsea and Jorginho. Trossard was a good signing. And, you know, Jorginho and Kivior did not significantly improve us. And when Saliba came out, Kivior didn't even go in the team because he wasn't ready to play first team football. So this story for me is just complete frustration. It really is. And this is what I find so irritating. On the flip side, in a slight defence of the Cronkies, if you don't waste 65 million on Havertz, you can probably buy Ivan Toney in January. But you've blown your budget. If you don't spend 35 million on Fabio, who's doing nothing, maybe you can buy Douglas Luiz. So on the flip side, the manager has to take some responsibility as well. Can we get creative, is what I would say. Why can't you go to Brentford and say, yeah, man, take Eddie and Kettle. Take Eddie. You know, and we'll give you 35, 40, 50 million on top of that. Or, you know, we'll pay you the money. I don't know. There's got to be a way. Ornstein has stated 50 million budget for January. I mean, 50 million. Are we really... Is that gonna change things at Arsenal significantly? 50 million? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Frustrating story. It feels like that story has been... Every year we hear that. FFP, can't spend, limited funds, January, loan moves. That's why you end up with Kim Kallströms, Denis Suarez, Pablo Mari, Cedrics. Look at the way we act in January. You know, we're buying crazy deals, but we'll see. We will see. It's frustrating. Snake Eyes, big up yourself, bro. We're still far away from City. We need to be ruthless if we want to win a title. Why is El Neni, Jorginho, Vieira doing here? I'm sorry, we need better players. Arteta, Edu, and the Cronkies need to fix up. Totally agree. Totally agree. You can't let players of that level stay at the football club. You know, you just can't. Fitz, big up yourself, bro. He said Arsenal need new owners. Agreed. Snake Eye said the issue at Arsenal is the fan base is accepting low standards. We need to put pressure on the Cronkies, Edu and Arteta. We are too nice. City is ruthless. I mean, the ruthlessness at City comes from the ownership. But what I'm saying is we've got to demand more. Like I said, I spoke to people at Arsenal in the summer when I was on tour, right? And they said Arsenal's media team will go on social media when something big happens, new signing, we're linked with someone, somebody leaves, they will go YouTube channels, have a look, what's the feeling? Go on social media, look at the big accounts, what are they saying? They go, put out a story linking us with Jorginho 24 hours before the window closes. See what the reaction is. What should have happened is meltdowns. Meltdown. He's 31. He's had his best years at Chelsea. Yeah, he's achieved good things in his career, but he will not elevate us to the next level. Everybody should be saying no, no, no. But because half the fan base are saying, you know, he was nominated for a Ballon d'Or, he's won the Euros with it. And they go, pull the trigger on that, do it. They're lapping it up. You don't have to spend 85 million on Caicedo because they're willing to accept Jorginho for 12 million. They'll take it. And they get him through the door and the Cronkies go, beautiful. Didn't need to spend 85 million on Caicedo. Just got you washed up Jorginho for 12 million. Look, they're lapping it up on social media. Beautiful. So the 73 million change I've got in my back pocket and I'm off, mate. I'll be at the Denver Nuggets game watching Jokic score 40 points while we're out here looking for scraps again. And until the narrative changes, that's what we're going to get, I'm afraid. Yeah, same for 29. That deal should have been absolute meltdowns. Arsenal being linked with... Ornstein put the story out 2 weeks before. Havertz to Arsenal, 60 million. I was like, what? People were like, yeah, but Leverkusen, look what he did. Next minute, he was holding up the shirt, and now look where we are. But anyway... let's move on before I get caught up. They'll go, they'll say you've been waffling on too long. Anyway, let's, speaking of waffle, let's get into it. Let's start looking ahead to tomorrow's game. Big game. Nothing we can do about it now. And look, just quickly here, a mad setting says, I understand what you mean, Big C. You still have to give Jorginho his flowers. He's been playing well for a non-existent party. Listen, and I've said this before, Jorginho's not a terrible footballer. You don't get where he's got in his career if you're a bad player. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he's on the decline, right? He's nearly 32. He's past his best. He lacks mobility. If he was that good, why did, at the time, mid-table Chelsea not give him a new contract? Because they knew without N'Golo Kante next to him, who was doing all of his running, you can't carry him anymore. So Jorginho should have been going back to Italy to a slower league, or going to the MLS, or going Saudi for the paycheck, not coming to Arsenal and being a starting lineup player who we're looking at now and going, right, can we win the title with Jorginho in our team? So it's not about Jorginho. He's not a terrible footballer. No Man City player is bothered about Jorginho playing centre mid for Arsenal. No Liverpool player's bothered. If you're playing against Arsenal tomorrow, you're going to look at Jorginho as a weakness. You are. You're going to try and expose him in your midfield. You're going to say, right, let's get a high-energy midfield. He's not physically very strong. He's not very quick. You can expose him if you get pace around him. You would look at Jorginho as a weakness if he was playing against Arsenal. You would pinpoint him. And you can't have weaknesses like that. So I'm not for 1 second saying Jorginho is a bad player. But no Arsenal fan in the world can tell me you believe we can win a title with Jorginho starting. He's just simply not good enough. It's not going to happen. So listen, I'm not going to disrespect him, but flowers, I'm not going to give him flowers, I'm afraid. I can't give him flowers. He's not that good either. But anyway, let's get into the press conference reaction with Mikel Arteta. Brentford away tomorrow, 5:30 kickoff. I'll be live at 4:30. Make sure you join in. Let's get some of the team news, and then we'll do a preview briefly of what our team will be tomorrow. He said, on the latest team news and if Odegaard will be available, he said, hopefully, yes. We have another training set. He loves that answer. We've got another training session today, and we'll figure out if he's available. He's trained for the last 3 days, Martin Odegaard. The pictures have been out. He's been training. He didn't go on international duty with Norway, which I'm glad about. It's just a case, really, is he match fit or not? Listen, if Havertz is playing, then Odegaard's got to play. Even if he's 85, 90% fit, he's got to play. Brentford will not mess about. They're a physical team. They're very mobile. Odegaard's got to play, as long as there's no major risk of injury. On concussion protocols with Odegaard, yes, because we didn't know how many days. Apparently, he got concussion in training, which put him out. So he should be fine as long as he's match fit. On Gabriel Jesus' fitness, he said he's available. He played 96 minutes in a really competitive match. We have another session. They had a long flight. I have to see the condition of every single player to make the final call. I think Jesus will be fine. Whether he starts or not, I'm not so sure. Jesus returns for the 4,536th time. Can we keep him fit for the rest of the season, Rowan? He's been injured twice already. Twice! As Pep once said. On Ben White's fitness, he said, again, hopefully if he's available to train today, will be available. It's a question mark to be resolved in the next few hours. Ben White had a knock. I don't think they ever really said what it was. On if Aaron Ramsdale will start in goal, he said yes. Finally, he gives us some clarity in a press conference. Listen, if he'd have said Cole Heim was starting, it would have been game over, wouldn't it? So Rambo will start. It'd be interesting if Ramsdale has a stormer, what he will do midweek in the Champions League against Lens. But we'll see. On if there's a difference in Ramsdale's mood when he knows he's starting, he said, no, I think every player is willing to play. They're all excited to play. They're always expecting. Sometimes there's disappointment the day before or a few hours before, but everyone is willing to play. Concussion protocol, what are we doing in training, man? Yeah, I mean, they're obviously going for it in training. Young Gunner, big up. He said, spending money is not Stan's strong point. I think making money is Stan's strong point, right? Let's get through this waffle anyway. On whether Ramsdale will play on Wednesday if he has an amazing game and saves a couple of penalties. He said, hopefully he doesn't need to stop 2 penalties and he does have an amazing game. On Timber's integration into the club, how he's been, he said, brilliant. If you talk about anyone in the building, everybody gets close to you will tell you he's a special guy. We were impressed when we signed him. Sometimes you see a player live in the environment and training. We went, wow, we have an incredible player. He's had a big setback and a difficult moment. He's been really special in the way he has handled. And if we will see Timber on the grass soon, he said, I hope so. He's been for a few walks out on the field. He's still a bit far from competing, but he's in a good place. Just quickly, it was interesting. Ronald Koeman, who's the Dutch manager, did an interview in the week saying he doesn't expect Timber to feature in the Euros for Holland, which created a lot of headlines, people saying that maybe Timber was out for the season. Timber then responded by putting out an Instagram post saying, trust the process. We've heard that one before. And he's in the gym doing some running. So the knee is obviously getting stronger. What I've been hearing, I don't know how true it is that they expect him back before the end of the season. But we'll have to see. I have to say, he has been a huge loss to Arsenal. I think he could have been a game changer for us this season. Arteta could be a politician, 100%. 100%. And if the club have sent observations from Anthony Gordon's guy, honestly, I don't know about anybody else. And I get it. It's a talking point. It's content. I am bored senseless with talking about that goal. That Anthony, listen, well, what are we going to do? He's not going to go back and change it. Howard Webb did a TV programme during the international break with Michael Owen. I suppose it was interesting to watch. Like, it's pointless. He's been charged by the FA. They'll appeal it. He'll probably get a one-match ban. And we go from there. Like, how long are we going to talk about this goal? It was the refereeing was poor. I know the process has been handled. He said there is a process. Let's skip it. I'm managing his 200th game as Arsenal boss. I'm really proud to reach that number at a big club. It's difficult. You have to win a lot of games. And if there will be another 200 matches, he said, or 300 or whatever, the most important job is tomorrow. That's the only thing that matters. I mean, listen, if you're here for another 200 games, I need to see some silverware in that cupboard. That's all I'm saying. Justice will do a predicted 11 after the press conference, 100%. On why Arteta has got a decent record at Brentford, he said it depends how you look at it. 2 years ago, we had a really tough start to the campaign. We learnt from that. That's a tough opponent. On if he'll watch Man City v Liverpool, he said we watch the games because we're interested in the league. We always want to be on top of everything. We have to focus on us. On what Thomas Frank has created with Thomas, let's skip that. Not interested in Thomas the Tank Engine, mate. On if the club will contest the FA charge, he said we've been asked to give our observation and opinion. On if he would say what he said at the end of the Newcastle match, if he could turn the clock back. Man's bringing out R. Kelly song. If I could turn back the hands of time. In fact, I shouldn't even be singing R. Kelly songs, to be honest, for obvious reasons. In fact, if you've been watching the news lately and you're a hip-hop fan, P. Diddy, well, the less said about Diddy, the better, people. But if you know people. I might have to edit that bit out. Shouldn't be singing R. Kelly songs under the circumstances, but you know what I mean. He said, it's not possible. I give the lineup. If we don't win, you ask me, would you pick the same one? It's easy, isn't it? Let's skip it. On Tomiyasu's position, I really want him to stay. I value the player. I like him. He's loved by everyone. He's getting a lot of minutes. And if there is an advantage, not playing the early game after the international break. Obviously, all managers would like to play on Sunday. People asking about Diddy's on some. He's in some problems, man. We ain't gonna talk about it here. We'll save it for another stream. Time out, but yeah, maybe I should disappear for 3 minutes and come back. International break, early kickoff, blah, blah, blah. On how to convince Aaron he will be in the plans of the national team. He said, my job is to help every player in the best possible way. Politician answer. On Edu winning the best sporting director. He said, I'm grateful for him, for the club, for the setup and the enjoyment we have working together. I think he deserves it. He's been instrumental in the way we have changed recruiting. Hopefully we can get awards in terms of titles. Probably the best thing he has ever said in any press conference is that sentence there. That's like just... That's what you want to hear as a football fan. Like, I don't want to hear about all the other stuff around the sides. It's like saying, what we're having for dinner. I don't want to know where you're buying it from and how you're preparing it. Just tell me what we're having for dinner. Hopefully we can win awards in terms of titles. I mean, listen, Edu's won award for best sporting director. I mean, you've done some good things renewing the contracts of the top players. Some of the recruitment's been good, your Gabriels and so on and so forth. But obviously, you've got your Pablo Maris, your Cedrics, your Renarsons, your Fabios, your Willians, your Havertz. So, yeah, I won't say too much in case I bump into him on tour next year, but you know what I'm saying, people. Yeah, his barbecues are unbelievable. On Everton's 10-point deduction, I feel very connected to the club. He says, I'm not even going to read it all. Awards for titles, the new inspirational track from Mikel, out now on Coman Music. Mickey Roast, the boss. Don't you dare slander Edu's barbecue. Hey, he's a master of the barbecue. Everton, 10 points. All the best to him. I ain't going to talk about it too much. On the scale of the punishment, the news took me by surprise. This is really waffling. On managers being put in an unfair position, sharing their thoughts. I'm not reading the answer. It's about 5 pages long. And if he will learn his punishment before Brentford, he said, I don't think so. I think it will be after. On his duty to speak out and be honest, you have to be yourself as a leader. You have to be authentic. You cannot be someone who you are not. Inspiration here from Mikel. On his favourite of the 200 games, he said the first one, it was a special moment. I get that. I would probably say the FA Cup final. On his pride of reaching 200 games, he said, I'm proud, I'm grateful. Oh, now here's a question I'm interested in. On the option to extend Jorginho's stay at the club, I'm almost afraid to read this next sentence. He says, you know I don't discuss these things here, but I'm really happy with Georgie. Georgie. He's got pet names for him. People have been calling him George. They said, take the Eno off him. He doesn't deserve that Brazilian bit at the end. But anyway, Georgie. I think we all are. He contributes to make the team better. Let's see. He said, on when a decision will be made on that, he said, that's a question for Edu or somebody else. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I told you. Georgie. Man like Georgie, you know, I'm telling you, he's definitely in a WhatsApp group with Arteta and the coaches. Georgie will be here next season. I'm convinced. I'd put money on it. It's not the answer I wanted to read. I can't lie. Whammer said, putting injuries aside, how can we make ESR work at Arsenal? Is he a Pires or Bergkamp type player? Bro, I mean, those two are two unbelievable Arsenal players. I've said for a long time, number one with Emile Smith-Rowe, what's his best position on the football pitch? Should he play more central? Should he play off the left? But he's getting injured. I'm a big fan of ESR. I don't want to see a ESR sold, but he has to get himself fit for a long period of time. Otherwise, his future will be elsewhere. I really hope he can figure it out. He is a mix of both. I would like to see him playing where Havertz has been playing. I think on the left, Martinelli and Trossard are in front of him. So I don't think left wing is a place that ESR will get in the Arsenal team. I would play him as an attacking midfielder because I think he can dribble. I think he can shoot. I think he can pick a pass. The last season he was fully fit. He got 10 league goals. So I would play him attacking midfield or just in front of Declan Rice. Maybe Rice, Odegaard and Smith-Rowe. Something like that. LG said, the only thing I liked for Arteta was getting rid of Maitland-Niles. You couldn't stand him, could you? Lens on highlight said, best ability is availability. And the Cone Man said, I will not stand for this slander any longer. These are my decisions. I'm the one in charge. This is a disgrace. I feel physically sick. Big up the Cone Man. Right, anyway, let's just briefly look ahead to tomorrow's game. I've got a couple of things to look at. So, how are Arsenal going to line up tomorrow against this Bournemouth, against this Brentford team? It's going to be interesting how he goes with it because we've had some players who've been out with injury and have had knocks. So, number one, the first question is, are these guys 100% fit? When I pick this team, I'm going to do it with the mindset that the ones who are coming back from injury are fully fit. So Ben White missed the last game. He didn't play, but I'm going to assume that he's fully fit, and we'll probably put him back in. So let me just get this up. Afsar said, my grandma walks faster than Jorginho. I told you, man, 19 pace on FIFA or EAFC. Right, in goal, Aaron Ramsdale. Wow. I mean, he's there by default, but at least he's there. What's going on here? There we go. I thought they took his picture off the game. Gabriel at centre-back. Is this the left centre-back? Yeah, all right. Gabriel. Saliba. I would go, assuming everyone's fit, I would go Ben White. I'll go Ben White at right back, and I would go with Tomiyasu at left back. And the reason is Mbeumo, Wissot, they're lively up front, and they're pretty good in the air as well. And people saying Havertz Havertz, how could I forget? The German maestro. Let's see how he looks at left back. The new, I mean, yeah, why not? He's got the height. He's left-footed. He wouldn't have to run much. Apparently, he's brilliant at winning duels. Let's put Havertz at left back. It makes sense. Cole Hein in goal and Havertz at left back. I can tell you now, people, and it ain't breaking news, Havertz won't be in my team, but I've got no doubt he will be in the team somewhere. Declan Rice. I'll play Odegaard. I'll play him. He's trained for 3 days. I'm assuming he's fit enough. I would play Zinchenko here. This is my team. This ain't what's going to happen. Never in a million years are you seeing that, by the way. But this is what I would go for. I'm telling you now, I'm sick of Jorginho and Havertz. And Brentford can move. They got players who can run. Saka on the right. And I'll be honest with you, I'm sticking with Trossard. I love Jesus, but I just think he's been out for a while. He's only played 1 game. He's travelled back from Brazil. I'll ease him into it. That would be my starting 11 tomorrow. Ramsdale in goal, Ben White and Tomiyasu, Gabriel and Saliba, Rice, Odegaard, Zinchenko in midfield, Martinelli, Trossard, Saka. Now, Zinni ain't playing in midfield. I think he will pick that front three tomorrow. I don't think he really needs to rush Gabriel Jesus back. So I think he will play that. He will play Georgie. He'll play Georgie. I might as well just call him his nickname. He'll be here next season. If Odegaard isn't fully fit, it will be 29 in midfield. I think that's the back four that he will pick. He could play Trossard in the 8 and Jesus in the 9. I wouldn't mind seeing that either, but I just don't think he'll do it. I think it will be Jorginho, Rice, and Odegaard. If not, he will play Jorginho, Rice, and Havertz, which I just don't like. I don't think Jesus will come straight back in. Trossard scored in the last 2 games. He's twisting players up during the international break. Yeah. It will be... Jorginho's playing tomorrow, no doubt about it. With Jesus, he's had 2 knee injuries this season. I just wouldn't rush him. Georgie Porgy. Man's got pet names for it. Maybe he'll bring another dog out and name him after it, you know. This is the team I think we'll see tomorrow. I think Odegaard will be past fit. He's played for 3 days in training. I think Tomiyasu at left back over Zinchenko, because I think Brentford will ask questions of us defensively, and I think Zinchenko, I think he's somebody you can damage a little bit more. They've got Mbeumo and players like that. I think Tomiyasu will play at left back. So that's the team I think will play tomorrow. Like I said, if Odegaard's not fully fit, it'll be Kai Havertz. So I really hope Odegaard is fit. But what changes would you make? Listen, I'd love to see Zinchenko in midfield. I think he could really operate there and do well. I'd like to see Trossard in that left attacking midfield role with Jesus up front. But I just think because Jesus isn't fully fit yet, I don't see that happening. I mean, in reality, Harlech said we'll see Eddie as striker and Havertz at 8. I can't see Eddie playing. Wasn't picked for England. And, yeah, you know, there's no reason to drop Trossard. So let's hope that he doesn't make any silly changes. And I expect that team to be strong enough. Just briefly looking at the table before we round up. Brentford, first of all, are 11th, I believe, in the Premier League. Brentford down in 11th. 3 wins out of their last 5, which is actually the same as Arsenal, although Arsenal have won 3, drawn 1 and lost 1. They've scored 19, conceded 17, same points as Chelsea, 4 wins, 4 draws and 4 defeats, but they have only lost 1 game at home in the Premier League, which was a bit of a shock result against Everton. Obviously, tomorrow is massive for Arsenal for a number of reasons. This weekend, when you look at this top of the table, people, Tottenham play Aston Villa, Manchester City play Liverpool. We're sandwiched in between. You know, if City and Liverpool draw, which I think is a very big possibility, it could be a draw, an Arsenal win would take us back to the top of the league. Now, Man City-Liverpool is a 12:30 kickoff. We definitely don't want a Manchester City win. A draw would be ideal, but if I had to pick a winner and I needed one, I would rather Liverpool won this game than Manchester City. I think one thing we've all got to acknowledge here, I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans saying, you know, Arsenal City, Arsenal City. I think we really need to remember that Liverpool are in this title race. Liverpool are in this title race. They are level with us. They've scored more goals than us. We're on the same. We've both got the best defence in the league. You know, they are very much in this title race. In the last 5 games, they've got more points than us. So a draw would be ideal. But I'd rather Liverpool won if one of them had to win, because you just kind of want Man City to keep dropping points. El says, Kai invert him at left back. Big up to you, El, for becoming a new member as well. Really appreciate that. Alfred, big up yourself, bro. He said, Ramsdale is 23-24. Raya is 28. We can't decide who is better. If Ramsdale is playing week in, week out, by 28, he could be the best in the world. Arsenal missing an opportunity to create a top keeper. It is interesting that when we've heard the narrative Project Youth, we're potentially going to get rid of a 23-year-old keeper to bring in a 28-year-old. But again, I think with goalkeepers, it's different. 28 as a goalkeeper is probably like 24 for an outfield player. Keepers nowadays will end up playing till their mid to late 30s, sometimes even their early 40s. But it is interesting. I know Alfred likes Ramsdale. And listen, who knows? Things can change in football. All it takes is a red card, an injury to David Raya. Ramsdale gets his place back and proves himself. What Ramsdale needs to do is take one step at a time, try and keep a clean sheet and have a stormer tomorrow and put some pressure on him. That's all he can do. El said Toney has been stepping up recently. I think Tomiyasu over the last few weeks has been absolutely fantastic. I really do. I think he's... I'll be honest with you, in the summer, I was looking at Tomiyasu like, maybe he gets sold this year because injuries, lost his place at right back. I thought, but now I'm looking at him going, you've got to keep him. You've got to extend that contract. So we've got the Tomiyasu from the first season back, where he was solid, he can defend, he wins his headers, he's no nonsense. So yeah, fair play to Tomiyasu for his form. Listen, people, thank you very much for tuning in today. Brilliant stream as always. I'll be on Bleacher Report at 4 o'clock. I will put the link in the description at the end of the show. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be live at 4:30 tomorrow. Arsenal against Brentford, or Brentford against Arsenal. And thank you very much for your support as always. Enjoy your Friday, people. And I will see you all for the watch along tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bless.